Welcome to the Underground.
Turn me up, bitch!
My Little Underground with Peter A.
It's My Little Underground. I'm Peter A. Make sure you're subscribed anywhere you get podcasts, and be sure to follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at MLU Pod. Today is a very special show because we're celebrating 20 years of one of the best hip-hop albums of all time, Quasimoto's The Unseen. And Smiley's here with me today.
Hey, it's Smiley Arriaga. Everything that is Smiley Arriaga wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Quasimoto.
Well, there you go. And if you're wrestling fans, me and Smiley host The Wrestling Caucus, also available anywhere you get podcasts. So, Quasimoto, it is the rap alter ego of the super producer, Madlib. And what's interesting is that Madlib doesn't pride himself as an MC rapper. You know, he's always said he's a DJ first, producer second, and MC last. And this Quasimoto character is just unbelievable. So it's essentially, it's a character, unique, high-pitched voice. It's Madlib's voice. After taking tons of mushrooms, because he has to get himself into that space, he records his vocals very slow and then plays it back at a normal speed, creating an Alvin and the Chipmunks-like effect. And the actual physical character of Quasimoto, Madlib described as a pig-nosed Alf nigga. And yeah, he describes this in great detail in the incredible Stones Throw Records documentary, Our Vinyl Weighs a Ton. And the actual physical presence of the character is inspired by the great 1973 film Fantastic Planet. So initially, Madlib was reluctant to pursue this project because Peanut Butter Wolf, the founder of Stones Throw Records, pushed him to do it. You know, this was just a project just for himself. You know, he never meant to put it out. And we'll hear the Quasimoto character on wax for the very first time, 1999, Peanut Butter Wolf's My Vinyl Weighs a Ton compilation on the song specifically Styles, Crew, Flows, and Beats. And then that same year, we'll hear him on Madlib's other group, Loop Pack, on their album Sound Pieces, The Antidote, and you hear Quasimoto on the track The Answer. So the bulk of today's show will be about the classic The Unseen, released 20 years, June 13th, 2000. So Smiley, when was your first discovery of Quasimoto?
I took acid on our way back from Syracuse. When we got back from Syracuse a few years ago, our brother Richard and I, we took acid and watched The Force Awakens. And after I got up, you and I went to a show, and you played you played Quasimoto. I think you were playing Yes Sir Whatever. Cause I just remember hearing Astronaut, and I'm just like, what the hell is is this a cartoon but a rapper? And you told me that it was made by Madlib, and I'm like, oh, okay. It didn't take me long to put two and two together. I'm like, the only difficult part about listening to anything Madlib does, or Quasimoto specifically, is just accepting the fact that my favorite rapper was a cartoon. That I've never it's not just the rapping, it's the music. Madlib solidified in me that the music is at its core is what matters the most. He's not obviously he's never been a lyrical miracle guy, but it's just the overall atmosphere that the music creates. It's almost like a very subtle cinematic feel. The music will be playing, and all suddenly he'll sample an old movie and put some music under it, and it's just you feel like you're there. You hear the crackling, you feel like you're in a film. Just putting this on, whether you're listening to it on tape or on speakers on your or my freaking cell phone. Sometimes when I'm doing work, you always have that. It always has that feel. Some music you got to listen to it on speakers, but anything Quasimoto or Madlib, I can listen to on anything.
Yeah, the one thing that's interesting about Quasimoto is that Madlib created a soundscape. He created an atmosphere. He set a tone. He created an aesthetic, and it's like a comic book or a blaxploitation film on wax.
Yes, except starring a little yellow guy with a brick.
Yeah, exactly. And you're when you're listening to this, you know, okay, that's Madlib. But it's very it connects the listener to the record. So I mean, at least for me, I'm very connected to it because you're in this story of Quasimoto, and you're in this comic book, as I explained before, and you know that Madlib is Quasimoto, but as you're listening to it, you're so invested in it. It's like, okay, they're two different people, because that's how good of a job he did with it. So the first time I discovered Madlib was, without totally realizing it completely, was on the soundtrack to Tony Hawk's Underground. They had a Low Class Conspiracy from The Unseen, and the first time I heard this song, I actually thought it was Eminem. Just because of the vocal timbre was kind of similar to how Eminem used to rap in his early days. But then come to find out years later, oh, cool, Quasimoto. Sweet.
Like when you first played it, I remember like, wait a minute, this sounds like something I've heard from like a Tony Hawk game. Like I feel like I've heard this when I was younger, but I just never, like, you know, like you hear something when you're a kid, you don't know what it is like till like 10 years later when you actually can process names of things. Yeah. Like, but yeah, like it was like a flashback. Like here when I first knew okay, this is Quasimoto.
Yeah.
Like it took me a bit to realize they were like. I think that's how cool the Quasimoto presence is. Like you can feel that he's a different presence from Madlib.
Yeah. Even though you know it's Madlib because they talk to each other. You know, Quasimoto would be like, "Yo, Madlib, hit me with that raw shit," and then boom, here comes Madlib, and then Quasimoto. You know what I mean?
You just imagine the little guy in the studio like making music with him.
Yeah.
Like.
So Low Class Conspiracy. Now that we're on the subject. One of my favorite lines in the whole song is the police pulling us over for no reason, searching the car like it's nigga hunt season.
It's classic.
Yeah.
It's like, I just remember listening to that walking home so many times, walking by police cars, when that song plays. It's kind of cathartic, and it's just like, I feel that. Like, it's
20 years later, it's still very relevant.
Like, just the sound of the car pulling up. I don't know if it was on that song specifically. There's a part in that record where you hear a police car pulling up and stuff like that, and just like it's the imagery, just hearing it, you just imagine, it's like you're there.
Yeah, there's a lot of creative, unique imagery on this whole album, and yeah, Low Class Conspiracy is still relevant today. You know, apparently it's still nigga hunt season. So many unarmed black people killed by police over the last 3 months or so. You know, you think COVID would put a damper to a lot of these things, but nope, not even a pandemic can stop systemic racism. So, what are some of your favorite songs off of The Unseen?
Bluffin', because it's just like it's like every time I play that song, it's like you remember in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where like they're going into Toontown, they're in that dark tunnel, and then all of a sudden they enter and it's just light, and you see like all these vibrant colors, and like you're in Toontown. That's how the opening of Bluffin' feels like. It's like it's very like cathartic. It's like it's almost like it like a flower unravels and like all this beautiful sound comes in, like it. And Astro, what the hell? Astro Traveling?
Yeah.
Astro Traveling. Oh my god. What the hell? Oh, bad character.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my god. Like it's like I feel that like no matter what I do, I'm labeled as a bad character. Like, I've always felt that, like, all my life. Like, and, like, that song is, like, another very cinematic, a song that has a lot of character, no pun intended. Like, and even, like, Welcome to Violence. That intro is so, like, it sets the tone for the entire
thing. And then right into bad character. Good stuff. I really loved, let me get this right.
Oh, and Boom Music.
Yeah, boom music.
It's like how like
I get high, start taking out whack niggas. Yeah.
It's like you imagine both of them on the cipher. Like it's so good.
Discipline 99 Part 0, because it is exactly what Madlib represents and what the Quasimoto album is. It's really like a tribute to great black jazz musicians, because Discipline 99 is actually the name of a Sun Ra song of the same title, and off of the Astro Black album, and Astro Black is actually a title of a song on the Unseen. So yeah, and I love the scratch chorus. Very interesting samples all the way from Red Fox towards the end, and a poem from, what was it, The Lost Poets? Yep, The Last Poets. Yeah. Well, what else you got?
Oh, Jazz Cats, where he like literally the whole song is just him. It might as well be a bibliography on wax of all the people he sampled.
Exactly.
Or that he will sample or hasn't sampled yet. But like Return of the Loop Digga.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's like one of my favorite. It's so like effortlessly cinematic. Effortlessly.
Yeah, it's essentially like a crate digger's anthem. You know, it's essentially, because Quasimoto said, it's like his catchphrase, and it's like his version of "If you smell what the rock is cooking." Yeah, because it's really cool, and yeah, and I love it starts off. It's not a regular song. It's so experimental in that sense, because it starts off as a regular song and it ends like a regular rap song, but in the middle there's the interlude where he goes to the record store and he asks the vendor. I guess it's a play on like vendors that don't know shit about music, and are selling music. And he asks the vendor about jazz legends like Stanley Cowell, Grant Green, Chick Corea, and the vendor has no idea what he's talking about. And then towards the end, he's like, "You have any reggae up in this?" Nothing. No, you ain't got none of that.
We've had moments like that where we go into certain record stores.
Yeah, like, you got no reggae up in this? Nothing? Shit, I'm out.
Like, sometimes I walk into a record store, in the first 5 minutes, I'm like, I feel that way.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But, like, oh, man.
And towards, and during the interlude where, you know, they're shopping in the record store, after each person that Madlib names, maybe not after everyone, maybe after every other one, there's like a slight beat change. There's a slight instrumental, you know, trail off, but which is awesome. I think it's so great. Yeah, I think a lot of people.
It's like a really cool Schoolhouse Rock skit. Like someone walks into a record store and it's almost like educational.
It's not just like a regular skit. It's a song. It's very musical.
It breaks all the rules of song structure. It has a structure to it, but it's like and like that's one thing I love about the Unseen is like it's 20 songs, but each of them are 2 minutes, and like it feels long, but not in a bad way. But it's so short at the same time. Like
that's another thing. The Unseen is 20 plus songs long, but not for 1 second do I feel like this album trails off or just kind of meanders. Because there's a lot of albums, at least during this time period, and you know the 2000s, even till this day, some hip hop albums kind of overstay their welcome. You know, in the past there would be like 20 songs on an album, and every song just kind of sounds like we want to get played on the radio hit, attempt at a radio hit. There may be like 2 great like radio hits on it, but the rest are just kind of attempts of being a radio hit. But this is just a whole. One of the perks of being an underground artist, a whole experience. It's an album's album. Like you can sit through it, the whole thing. It's like it's like a movie on wax.
I remember when I was younger, people used to call us to mix it like, "Doug, this is an album. This is better than most albums."
Yeah.
Like
it's better than a lot of albums.
Oh yeah, like the idea of like the 2-minute song, of very just short songs that are all like. Madlib, you can tell he doesn't. I can tell he doesn't believe in the idea of a skippable track. If it's a skippable track, it shouldn't be on an album.
Yep.
Like there's no skippable tracks on these albums.
This and the thing is, with Quasimoto, especially with the Unseen, there's just like you said, there's nothing skippable. Everything is important, and yeah, I think that when you're sitting down and you're listening to it. You're just kind of enthralled in the experience. It's almost like you're going into like a House of Horrors sort of thing. But like you know what I mean? Not maybe not
the House of Horrors, but it's a whole. No, I get what you mean. Like it's
you're going to like an amusement park,
like a fun house,
like a psychedelic music fun house.
Yeah, like you know, like I don't know if you ever seen the episode of Sopranos. When like for people like listening to this, we've both seen it. But like have you seen the episode of Sopranos Funhouse where Tony's dreaming? It's just a bunch of weird vignettes. It's literally like being in a Quasimoto album.
Yeah. But I want to go back to Jazz Cats because again, like you said, it is a bibliography of everyone he sampled. And it's almost like, yeah, it's Madlib saying, here's where I get my ideas from. It doesn't just come from nowhere. Like, that's hip-hop music at the core. It's taking something from nothing and making something completely new. Like, it's not, poor attempts, poor cover tunes, or you're essentially covering the song, but you're saying it's a sample, which was a problem in hip hop towards like the late 90s, at least during the Bad Boy era, because Biggie's Juicy is just the Juicy record with Biggie rapping on it. But one of my favorite songs off of The Unseen is very one of the most, I think, multi-layered as far as like production is Good Morning Sunshine.
Oh, I love that song so much.
Throughout the whole song, he samples quite heavily Melvin Van Peebles. And Melvin Van Peebles, for those who don't know, is a legendary film producer and composer. And most of this song samples Heh Chuckle, Good Morning Sunshine. And a lot of the lyrics on here are from that song. But if you hear both tunes, they sound nothing like each other. It's completely different. Even though he's using almost the same lyrics. Like one of the refrains, which I love, I ain't the cat you saw yesterday. At least I mean by tomorrow won't be any day. Whole new ballgame, whole new day. That's exactly from the Melvin Van Peebles song. And I love that. That's the one thing about this song. It has a lot of catchy tunes, a lot of catchy refrains and callbacks to kind of... It's really... Like, he's making music. Like, there's a lot of rappers that can probably out-rap Madlib. But you can't out-album, out-musicianship Madlib.
Or out-create him.
No, we cannot out-create him. Like, at least at the time in 2000, Eminem, right? The Jadakiss, the Locks. All of them come in a cipher, they can probably, like, out-lyric Madlib. But The Unseen is just... It outclasses anything any of those artists ever did. To me, in my opinion.
For Out of Babylon. Like, he kind of, like, he wants to, like... It's almost like he's coming from a point of view where sometimes he wants to start... Rather than be a part of the battle, he wants to start it, but like with one of his beats.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and it's not really like for him, like he's not like, oh man, I'm better than y'all, but it's like, yeah, he says it, but like it's you can tell like the soul is in there. Like as corny as it sounds, like I said, he makes the music of it the core.
Yeah.
The focus.
And the one thing, again, going back to Jazz Cats, he names so many jazz.
I showed my jazz professor that I told him about this song, and he loved it. I saw him like, yo, he literally the verses are he's just naming the people he samples. He was like, yo, that was awesome.
Yeah, Sun Ra, George Benson, Bobby Hutcherson, Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. I'm not sure if I'm getting the pronunciation right, and so much more. Yeah, this was just a remarkable album from the production standpoint. Like you kind of hear the crackles of vinyl throughout the entire album, which is really cool. It's like it's a black psychedelic experience.
It's like you're inside of a film, inside of a weird psychedelic film.
Yeah, it's like you extract the audio track of a movie you're editing, and that's Quasimoto.
Yeah, yep. Like oh man. Like the whole idea, like when I was making my album, the Mad Cow EP, like the whole kind of idea of that was like, and very heavily inspired by like Quasimoto, like having like taking parts of yourself and creating something like another presence,
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of like with Captain Murphy.
Yeah. Flying Lotus definitely heavily inspired by Madlib. You'd be crazy to say. And the one thing, as far as the voice altering thing is, at the same time, down in Houston, all the chopped and screwed stuff, a lot of the DJ Screw mixtapes were very unique because you take a track and you slow it down and you chop it up in creative ways, which is just brilliant and so creative. And Madlib is doing the same thing, but in his own way. And then you look at Travis Scott now, he has a lot of auto-tune, but, his sound, his idea for melody is just absolutely incredible. Like, I don't care that he uses auto-tune, but that's not what he's trying to do. He's not trying to out-sing anybody. He's trying to out-melody you. Very catchy melodies that that can be stuck in your head.
Yeah.
And you can crank up to 11 in your well, not to 11, but like you can crank up in your car while you're driving. That's it. It's an aesthetic.
You know, someone who is you can tell is so inspired by Madlib, Sweatshirt. Like if you heard the album, some rap songs.
Exactly.
Oh my god, that dude must have like been swimming in Madlib. And like all the influence came out in the best way. Like it's sort of like a segue. You said Biggie, and I'm like, I was thinking about. Could you imagine if they made a song together?
That'd be awesome.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like imagine like Biggie like robbing a bank, and then like him and Quasimoto are about to rob the same bank. Yeah. Like or something like that. I don't know. Like man.
I could picture Quasimoto on Brooklyn's Finest. On
just makes me like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
Could you imagine the secret fourth verse? Like, oh yo, who's this guy, man?
I want to talk about some of the later Quasimoto stuff. After The Unseen, the next time we'll hear Quasimoto is on America's Most Wanted on Madvillainy, which is Madlib's other massively acclaimed hip hop album, one of the best hip hop albums ever, alongside The Unseen.
Anyone who's watched Adult Swim and watched the Boondocks, you've heard Madvillainy.
Yeah.
At some point.
The one thing that I've always wanted to see, just thinking about it, because whenever MF Doom and Quasimoto are on a track, it's fantastic. They should have done an album together. But that requires a lot more mushrooms. I don't know.
Time.
A lot more time. I don't think Madlib wants to do that anymore.
I think the mushrooms is inside. I think the creativity's always been there, but the mushrooms kind of like, unlock the gate.
Yeah.
In a way.
It takes a lot out of you, I guess. I don't know. You can tell me. I've never...
it's more of like the bolt cutters, like, because it's always there, but like, I guess because you don't really need it, but, it helps. Sometimes.
And then the next full-length Quasimoto album, 2005, The Further Adventures of Lord Quas. I think this is a highly underrated album. I don't know if you heard it, but... This is
the one I've listened to the least, but I still enjoy it.
A lot of great gems. On The Unseen, he had Jazz Cats, and on Further Adventures, he had Rappin' Cats. And he talks about all the hip hop people that he's inspired by, which is also amazing. But this album was funny. The second album, it's really, really funny.
I gotta give this another listen. This is the one I gotta give this as much love as I've given the Yes Sir Whatever in The Unseen.
Yeah. And then 8 years later, we have Yes Sir Whatever, which is not a full-length album, but it's a very, very... It's probably one of the best compilation albums I've ever heard.
Yeah, some people like this better than The Unseen.
I'm
still trying to decipher
crazy.
which. It's hard. It's really... You can't ask me which one... What my favorite Quasimoto is. It's difficult.
I think that just shows you how good, how amazing, and how legendary the Quasimoto project is. People are holding a compilation album to such high regard, and this album was put together so well. It's like a full-length album.
It doesn't, it's really easy to forget this is a compilation record.
It doesn't sound like a bunch of songs.
Easy to forget that.
It's very cohesive.
Oh my god, like, man, like it's just hard coming up with the words. Like Madlib, like it's just like the spirit that I get from him. Like, man, like this isn't a Quasimoto project, but have you heard African Earwax?
Nope.
That mixtape he put out, it's like an hour-long mixtape Madlib put out. I don't know, I forgot what year, but like man, like he only had like a limited amount of CDs of it. You can find it on YouTube, you can find it on like Spotify. It is so awesome. It's like an hour-long drum circle that's constantly changing and it's all connected. It's hard to describe, but you just gotta like look it up. African Earwax.
Yeah, I think that when you look at the Quasimoto project, it's something that comes in. It doesn't come in every year. It's like a wrestling star in the 80s. You don't see... There's no weekly television yet, or weekly live TV yet. So you see Hulk Hogan every now and then. You see Andre the Giant every now and then. Quasimoto's like that for hip-hop. We saw him in 2000. We saw him 4 years later on Madvillainy. And then you saw a whole album with him 2005, and then 8 years later until we hear Quasimoto. Do you think there's gonna be another Quasimoto album?
I don't know, but I hope so. I wouldn't reject that idea at all. If you told me there was a new Quasimoto record right now, we'd have to stop this podcast and then
we'll have to
listen to it and
do another podcast.
Yes, this is like I always joked like imagine Madlib doing trap. But then again, Madlib sort of came back. Like, Quasimoto sort of came back on Bandana. You see him on the cover.
That pissed me off. Because he's on the. It's a great album cover. I want that on a T-shirt if they exist. But you put him on the cover and you don't put him on. He's not on the fucking album.
Hey man, he was busy blowing up all those buildings. Have you seen that art that like?
He destroyed LA.
Yeah. You see like that moving art when you listen to Crime Pays, which is one of my that's one of my favorite.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite songs of like this year.
And I think that I think Madlib will do another Quasimoto album because I think the demand is still there, and I think Quasimoto, especially Quasimoto, I don't think maybe it will still be there, but I don't think the demand is going to be not the demand, the expectation to outdo the Unseen is there. I think people just want Quasimoto. Give whatever you think, however you decide to deliver Quasimoto, just deliver it.
Well, expectation is out the window with this guy. You can't predict what this guy's gonna do.
That's exactly.
You can't predict. I did. Like you told me, like Bandit, like he's coming out with another album with Freddie Gibbs. I had no idea what the hell they were gonna do on that.
Yeah, Quasimoto is an unpredictable project, and I think that it's.
He probably has like 3 Quasimoto albums he hasn't released yet.
Exactly.
Probably know.
Yeah.
But so like, which one do I release now?
I think that like just surprise me and do something interesting, and you don't have to completely reinvent the wheel. But I don't expect him.
That we love.
Yeah, that's it. I don't expect you to do the Unseen 2. I don't expect that.
Nah, he ain't that kind of artist, man. He doesn't do the Unseen or the Scene or. I don't know.
I think that a lot of people that's why there hasn't been another. I'm glad there hasn't been another Mad Villainy, because I think for that album, I think there is a level of expectation that I don't think Madlib and MF Doom are trying to do, because I don't think they want to do any reruns. They're very unique artists, because especially MF Doom, he tries something different every time. All of his albums sound completely different from each other, which is why we love even everybody from the underground to the mainstream. Drake loves MF Doom because he's stuck to his guns. He's just himself, and he always creates, and he's very innovative. Madlib, the exact same way. Like, when I heard his Freddie Gibbs albums, they sound nothing like the Mad Villainy albums. They're totally different, and I love that.
Oh man, that No Name song.
Yeah, song 33.
Oh man, I got like.
Can I hear Quasimoto on that? Absolutely.
Hell yeah! Talk about a collaboration that I could never even thought of, but I'm so happy I got.
I would love that. I would love to hear that, because I didn't think, because I remember hearing Freddie Gibbs on like trap sounding songs, and then I heard he did an album with Madlib. I'm like, oh, this will sound interesting. I guess that was just me putting Freddie Gibbs in a box, and then he just blew my mind. And yeah, so I hope Madlib continues to blow our minds in the future.
Like, right? I would.
He still is right now, but we'll see. And
I hope him and Rhapsody cross paths. That would
be sick.
That would be incredible. I wouldn't know what the hell.
I'd fall out a window.
Oh man, it'll be like some like blaxploitation film with like Quasimoto and like Rhapsody here.
Oh, man, who you calling a bitch?
Who you calling a bitch? Oh shit.
Yep.
It was a brick at him. But they probably working together.
Yep.
But, Quasi, man, like, there is no, like, I've seen the rap alter egos before, but, like, nothing like this. Like, anyone who even dares to try to recreate this is, like, I feel bad for you.
Yeah.
I feel very bad for you.
Yeah, so Quasimoto, the Unseen, turns 20, and it ages like a fine wine. And I think it is a must-listen if you're a hip-hop fan. And if you haven't heard the Unseen,
if you just love experimental music,
yeah, but especially hip hop.
Yes,
if you're a hip hop fan and you haven't heard Quasimoto at all or anything Madlib has ever done, oh boy, you got to do some homework. Yeah, and this has been My Little Underground, and I'm Peter A.
I'm Smiley Arriaga. Thank you for having me.
And don't forget to listen to the Wrestling Caucus with myself and Smiley anywhere you get podcasts. And follow My Little Underground everywhere you get podcasts, and on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at MLU Pod. Later days.